Hi there and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Angie and I'm a chemist who loves makeup. So I recently got married last month, so I wanted to share with you all of the makeup that I use to do my own makeup on my wedding day. I'm very particular in how my makeup is done, so I really wanted to do it myself for my wedding day. I am not a professional makeup artist by any means, but if you are planning on doing your own makeup for your wedding, I hope that this video can help you find some products that you can use for your wedding day makeup. And before we get into all that, I want to share with you the sponsor of today's video, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community to help you learn more about whatever your passions are, or discover some new ones through their classes. One class that I started taking this month is baking basics, making perfect pastries every time. A KitchenAid mixer was on our registry recently, so I really wanted to get some use out of it, so I thought this class would help me out. There's interior design classes, drawing classes, and even embroidery classes, which I think is so cool. It was created specifically to help you learn. So there's no ads, and there's always new premium classes, so you can always be learning something new. And even if you're not new at something, Skillshare has classes for every level. And the first 1,000 of my subscribers who click the link in my description will get a 1-month free premium trial to Skillshare. So you can start exploring your creativity today. Thank you again to Skillshare for sponsoring this video, and we are gonna jump right into that wedding day makeup. For reference, my skin type is pretty normal as of the past couple years. I do get kind of oily, mostly on the typical places, the T-zone, the chin. So personally, I thought it was better to avoid cream products on the day of my wedding, so that includes eyeshadow, bronzer, highlighter, blush. All those products I did not use because I feel like they tend to break up more. I try to make my makeup last as long as possible that day. So primer. The primer that I used is the Makeup Forever Step 1 primer, and this was their smoothing primer. I didn't use this all over my face. I just use this in the areas where I tend to have really prominent pores. On my nose, I have one that's pretty large, so I packed this in there with a kabuki brush, and I only put it here, my cheeks, a little bit on my forehead, and then a little bit on my chin. I tried to avoid using it over my entire face because sometimes the primer doesn't always play nice with whatever foundation or concealer you're using on top of it. I'm usually not super concerned about pores, but for my wedding day, I really wanted to make sure that it looked as flawless as possible. For foundation, I use the Too Faced Born This Way foundation. I really like this foundation for special events because it is full coverage. Day to day, I typically wear lighter makeup, so I understand when people want to keep their makeup more natural, but because you are being photographed all day, I think it is better to wear a more full coverage foundation. This particular one isn't matte, and it's not considered a long wear one, which actually works really well because you are able to build up on top of this foundation, so you could start lighter and build to your desired coverage, and you still have a glow for that day. And to set it, I just use a powder. For concealer, I use 2 different concealers for 2 different reasons. The first one I use is the Benefit Boing Cakeless Concealer. This one I used for highlighting. It's definitely more of a medium coverage concealer. I really like that it's not full coverage because sometimes with more full coverage concealers, throughout the day, they tend to settle into fine lines, they look kind of creasy and cakey. But if you have darker circles under your eyes, this one may not give you the color coverage that you need for this. This one particular I use for the purpose of highlighting because it plays well with a lot of foundations, which is something I really appreciate, and it doesn't crease up throughout the day. And the second concealer I used for spot treatment was the Too Faced Born This Way Sculpting Concealer. I got this one in a tone that was closest to my skin tone, and this is very full coverage, so I used it for spot treatment. I had one big pimple like right here on my chin, so I used this to cover that up without having to add a ton of extra foundation. So this gave me coverage in the area that I really needed extra coverage. For setting powder, the powder that I used is the Cover FX Perfect Setting Powder. And for me, it really is perfect. It is finely milled, it's not super powdery, so when you put it on, it stays in place. There's been a lot of powders I've used in the past that when I've applied it, leaves little flakes of powders everywhere. This one sets it and really helps my makeup last all day. And they have it in 2 shades, a translucent and then a darker one. So whatever your skin tone is, this will blend in. For my brows, I used all Benefit brow products. Specifically, I used the Gimme Brow to put all my brow hairs in place and just add a little bit of color to it. Next, I used a Foolproof brow powder, and that one I used to fill in areas that are very sparse. Third, I went in with the Precisely My Brow pencil. This is the very thin pencil. They do have one that's more of a teardrop shape. This one is the very fine one that will give you hair-like strokes. And lastly, I use the 24-hour setting gel to hold everything in place. So those are my go-to brow products. So now moving on to eyeshadow. So for eyeshadow, I really wanted to stay neutral, but that's very varied. Some palettes are very warm tone, some palettes are very cool tone. The one that I picked was from Dominique Cosmetics, and this is their Transition palette. This is an all matte palette, all neutral shades, and it has a very good variety of warmer shades, cooler shades. There's even more like pinky shades, and I went into that realm, and then I used the black to kind of smoke out my eyeliner. This palette is really great because it has a really good variety of neutral shades. The eyeshadow on this palette is of really good quality. There's not a lot of kickback. It blends out really, and it's not overly pigmented, which I also appreciate. I topped off my eyeshadow with these glittery toppers. One was from an old eyeshadow palette I had, and the other one was from Auric Beauty. This is their Rose Gold Duo. I didn't use the cream shadow, but I did use the topper. And I like this because it doesn't have a lot of pigment to it. It's not really an eyeshadow, which is what I was looking for. It was something to add a little bit of sparkle. I did wear false lashes, but for my lower lash line and just to kind of darken them and help my lashes blend into the false eyelashes, I use the Benefit Bad Gal Bang Mascara. This is a really good mascara for lengthening. It doesn't thicken them up a lot, which is really great for lower lashes so they don't all clump together. And also for the top lashes too, because it helps elongate them and help them blend into those bigger eyelashes that I wore. And it also isn't a flaky mascara, which I also really love. So I am of the opinion, I don't know if it's an unpopular opinion, but I really feel like you need to wear some sort of false lash on your wedding day because just mascara doesn't show up super well in pictures. I went to a family member's wedding a while back, and I remember I didn't have scissors to cut my false lashes, so we went to the ceremony, we were in family pictures, and you could not see my lashes like at all. And then I was able to put them on later for the reception, and it made a world of difference. So for this particular day, I used the House of Lashes Allure Light Lashes. I really like the House of Lash styles that they have. The regular ones are pretty intense. The light ones aren't any shorter. They're just a little bit more sparse. Now, these ones might be a little bit more intense than a lot of people want to wear. If you're in that category, I'd recommend looking at Ardell. Those are pretty much like the classic go-to ones. They have some nice lighter ones and are just a good gateway to wearing false lashes. So I almost forgot eyeliner. I didn't do a super long wing or anything for my wedding day, but I did want to have some sort of eyeliner because I was wearing false lashes, so I want everything to blend. And I used the KVD Beauty Tattoo Liner. This one's just a staple. I've used this one for a long time. I'm really happy I can buy it again now. And this one is a brush tip as opposed to a felt tip, which I think makes this one superior. And this eyeliner is great because it lasts all day. It does not run throughout the day or fade. So for my contour and highlight, I did use a contour palette. This one's from Tarte. It's unfortunately not continued anymore, but I did use it to contour around my cheeks, do my nose. I really went more intense on the contour that day than I normally would because, again, photographs. So I don't have the exact ones I use, but I'll try to find similar alternatives that hopefully would work for you, and I'll put those down below. For blush, I did want to use a shimmery blush. I felt like just to add more of a glow to my skin. In particular, I use the MAC Powder Blush. That one is really good. It's not overly pigmented. It blends out really well. This is just a really classic blush. So for highlight, I use a discontinued product, My bad. This one is from Dose of Colors. It was the Desi X Katie in Fuego highlight. It was super pretty, very subtle. Also, one thing that I did do on my wedding day, and I have been doing if your shoulders are exposed or your collarbones exposed, I apply the highlighter to those areas as well, because then you just look super glowing in your pictures. So for lipstick, I went with the very classic bullet lipstick and lip liner. The lip liner I used is from House Laboratories. This one is just a really good liner. It's creamy, it stays on really well, and the lipstick I used was Honeycomb from Bite Beauty. Unfortunately, these lipsticks are discontinued, but they came out with new ones. I'm not sure how similar they are because I haven't tried them out yet. They're more of a matte look, but if they have a honeycomb color, I will link that down below as well. Unfortunately, a lot of the lip products that I really love get discontinued, which is really sad for me. But also, if you are someone who's really concerned with smearing and not being able to touch it up frequently, I would recommend the KVD Beauty Everlasting Liquid Lipstick. This one is a really comfortable thin formula matte liquid lipstick, and I will wear it for a really long time. So that is all the makeup I used to DIY my own wedding makeup. I hope you found some products that you can use, and if you are doing your own makeup for your wedding, or if you did your own makeup for your wedding, let me know what products that you used or are planning on using. And with that, I will see you in my next video.